Hello out there, all you epiphling and ephemera. Welcome to Umbral-Free Radio. I'm your host, Priestess Lakeney, and there have been a lot of changes recently within the Sept of the Far Dawn. No one can find Frost, he's been presumed dead, and Bloody Laughter, Athro Ragabash of the Red Talons, has taken his place as Alpha of the Sept. He has encouraged the Sept's Theurges, and a few others, to discuss a change in totem for the Sept that would be more in fitting with the challenges we face as a Sept beset by enemies. Not sure how we can both challenge for Alpha and in the same breath say we're at a time of war within the litany, but I'm a human kinfolk, and I'm not stupid enough to point that out to his face. So, without further ado, the scoop on Bloody Laughter. I haven't had the time to get to know Bloody Laughter as well as I've had the time to meet some of the others in the Sept, mostly because I don't speak Wolf. But he claims to be progressive for a Red Talon. I'm not really sure what that means, but he doesn't want all the kinfolk off Sept land, so that's a nice surprise. He wanted to change the Sept's totem to better fit us in a time of war, which is a big deal. Huge shift to the overall tone and feel of the Sept. It's a drastic shift in the power dynamic. That being said, Bloody Laughter went to bat for Cora when her kin arrived and tried to take her away. He single-handedly battled a Geta Fenris who was so lost to his rage he began to eat the flesh of his fellow Garou in battle. I don't know what all was said or happened, because again, don't speak Wolf, but I was right up close for the battle, and it was worthy of a heavy metal album cover. Don't get me wrong, I don't celebrate the ignominious death of a member of my tribe, but trying to take Cora away when she doesn't want to go is kind of a dick move. And whatever was exchanged, he not only lost himself to the worm, but also, in spite of his vicious frenzy, still lost the battle. So good on you, Bloody Laughter. I still don't know why Delver didn't even fight you for the position, but at least you've done something good with it. I had been hoping to spotlight the Muses this week, talk a little bit about each of their 9 faces and what they mean as a collective. But Bloody Laughter came in and decided that we're not keeping the same Sept totem anymore. To be honest, it's a little hard to know what to make of it. From what I understand, Septs changing their totem, it's not supposed to be a very common thing. It's a big deal, and it's going to have a profound influence on the land. He barreled in and demanded the change on day 1. No, less than day 1. Essentially, his first act is Alpha. And I can't help but look at this as something political rather than practical. The Muses are about the arts and crafting, and both of those are human sentiments. Never mind that the primary benefit the members of our Sept have derived from the Muses has been in the realm of forging and building weapons, which is beneficial for war. Never mind that we have a gross shortage of galliards going on, and the people of our Sept need every help they can get at expressing themselves. Don't get me wrong, I like Bear. I think our Sept can do a lot of great things with Bear. I just question the motives of this change of direction. Speaking of Bear, Bear is good spirit people. Protector of the weak and the innocent, soother of wounds, and a fierce defender of the land. He's straightforward, perhaps a little gruff. It takes a lot to earn his ire, but whoo boy, you better run if you actually get there. His children are the Gural, of which we are lucky to have not 1 but 2 within our Sept. But what about this spirit of Bear in particular? What are his dislikes and likes? I can tell you from experience, he likes fresh-caught fish and a respectful tongue, and he doesn't like being woken up from a nap unless you have a good reason. I've also been told he has something of a wry sense of humor. He enjoys spooking passing tourists by appearing in the real world along the banks of a handy body of water. Welcome, Bear. May you guide us in wisdom and protect us in battle. And now for some current events. Doodle-doo-doo, 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 doodle-doo-doo. Most of the last gathering was taken up with discussions of the new totem for the Sept, as well as the battle between Bloody Laughter and the Geta Fenris. But there are a few notable other occurrences everyone ought to know about. Max, Angus, the newbie Pumunka, and I went to find some missing kids. Turned out they went to investigate a haunted house, which was actually sporting a tear in the gauntlet. Poor kids were lost, scared, and 2 of them had even gotten themselves into the early stages of possession. I've got nothing to make this story funny. We were making to break these kids out of the terror when the technocracy showed up, armed to the teeth, basically saying they were in charge here and they were taking over the situation. Max did his obstinate thing, but my big concern was getting the kids back to their families. So I agreed to cooperate if they'd help the kids. It wouldn't have been my first choice of who to go to, but the kids would have only gotten hurt if it turned into a confrontation. And given 2 of the kids had already become possessed, time was of the essence before the spirits settled into their bodies and left them unable to survive the exorcism. As it was, the 2 possessed kids were exorcised and resuscitated, and everyone ended up returned to their families. As far as I'm concerned, that's a win. The other big occurrence has to do with Cora. Now, I wasn't there at the time, but word is she started crying mud, then coughing up leaves, and her skin was turning to bark. No one knew it then, but it was a result of the acorn of Yggdrasil growing within her. So Delver was trying to figure out how to deal with this and what was going on and what should be done about it. Meanwhile, Syntax thinks that Delver is moving too slowly, which given I complain about Delver being slow to react all the time, I can hardly blame the guy. So he decides that something decisive needs to be done to save Cora. So he exorcises her, expelling the acorn from her body. Little does he know that the acorn was the only thing keeping her alive and she would soon die. Draven took her aside to Loki's shrine to see if they could figure out something to do. I showed up shortly afterward. When I heard about this was going on, I went to go see how Cora was doing. We summoned Loki, and Cora offered Loki the memories of her mate and her love for him in exchange for what she needed to survive. I don't know what lesson Loki has in mind with regard to Cora, but one thing is abundantly clear. The cost of the lesson is growing more steeply every day. Once again, I have breaking news from the time of this recording. Cutting Truth came back from Atrocity with word that Frost was alive. This information came at great cost to Cutting Truth, where he suffered for 7 days within the realm, reliving the greatest shames and torments history has to offer, but leaving the realm with the knowledge that Frost was being held by black spiral dancers, and that he did not have long left to languish. But from what I was told, when he arrived near the Bawn with the news, he was so tainted and misshapen by the experience that he could not be allowed on the Bawn. He cried out to Delver, but was turned away, and he had to seek assistance in purging the corruption the warders could not purge elsewhere. Delver. I understand that the kid rubs you the wrong way, because he's a prideful little shit, but turning him away like that was not only a dick move, it allowed the worm to dwell within a member of the nation. You want to teach him a lesson for being a prideful shit? Give him his licks. But refusing to help purge the worm from a guy in Guru, that's low. What's more, maybe a day or 2 after Cutting Truth came back, Frost himself showed up near the Bawn. I don't speak wolf, so I didn't understand what was going on at the time. But word around the Sept is that Frost came out near to the Sept and ran into the city with some female in tow, both stinking of the worm. Bear and the Sept are fine, but there are many questions to be asked, and Frost still has not shown himself. Tonight, I will leave you on the concept of trust. It doesn't come easy for some, sure as hell not for me, but we all need it to be able to interact with each other. I've been wrestling with this one for a while now, especially when it comes to my oldest friend. But in the end, it comes down to faith. You know who you are, buddy. And as hard as it is for me right now, I want you to know that I do trust you, and more importantly, trust in you. This has been Priestess Lakeney with Umbral Free Radio, signing off.